whom I lived with or knew intimately for 3 decades. Secondary sources I consulted include Verlin's book, The LeBaron Story, and a few details from Prophet of Blood, The Untold Story of Ervil LeBaron, and The Lambs of God by Ben Bradley and Dale Van Atta, as well as The 4 O'Clock Murders, The True Story of a Mormon's Family's Vengeance by Scott Anderson. However, ultimately, I am responsible for the material in this book. Chapter 1. Ervil LeBaron, often referred to as the Mormon Manson who ordered the deaths of at least 28 family members, friends, and church members, and who had threatened to kill my husband and me, was my brother-in-law. I was married to his brother Verlin LeBaron for 28 years. I married Verlin without my parents' permission or knowledge. They had warned me against getting involved with the LeBarons, saying there was insanity in that family. As a teenager raised in fundamentalism, however, I was sure God had told me I was to be Verlin's wife. So I ran away and became the second of 10 women who shared Verlin and called him husband. During those years, which I have recounted in Shattered Dreams, I mothered 14 of his 58 children and lived in terrible poverty, raising or scrounging for our own food, wearing clothes the thrift stores couldn't sell, and doing most of it without electricity or indoor plumbing. Everywhere I go, people ask me how I could have willingly involved myself in a lifestyle that was so difficult, unfulfilling, and abusive. To answer that question, I need to give a bit of a history lesson. And mind you, I heard this lesson repeated over and over from the time I was very young, so I never questioned its validity or worth. I was a 5th-generation plural wife, so I had no real reason to believe the practice was anything other than God's plan for my life. There are an estimated 50 to 100,000 practicing polygamists today throughout the western United States, Canada, and Mexico. Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, practiced polygamy in the 1830s and 1840s, marrying at least 33 wives. Some historians say he had more. He officially introduced polygamy in 1843 with a revelation from God, which later became Section 132 of the Doctrine and Covenants, a Mormon scripture. Many of his followers were appalled, including Brigham Young, who stated that upon hearing of the new doctrine he desired the grave. Believing, however, that Joseph Smith had truly heard from the Lord concerning this principle, Young pushed his inhibitions aside and eventually married at least 27 women. Some historians claim it was a greater number. Brigham Young taught that plural marriage was the better mode of marriage for all concerned. Theoretically, it enabled every woman to marry the man of her choice. There'd be no spinsters. There would be no houses of ill repute. Every woman could have a respectable husband who would honor her. In 1875, the United States government ramped up its efforts to abolish polygamy. The Latter-day Saints, LDS, Mormon church properties were confiscated, and many leading polygamists were fined and imprisoned. Wanting their territory of Utah to gain U.S. statehood, the Mormons knew they'd have to abandon polygamy. Therefore, in 1890, the president of the LDS Church, Wilford Woodruff, signed and issued a manifesto, which supposedly put an end to the principle. The government returned the confiscated properties to the church, but denied statehood to Utah because polygamous marriages were still being performed by Mormons. As early as 1885, a safe haven of 8 colonies had been established in Chihuahua and Sonora, Mexico, where the polygamists continued to carry on their religion, and after the 1890 manifesto, the few of the LDS officials secretly sealed many men to plural wives. As proof of this, in 1903, the LDS stake president in Mexico, Anthony W. Ivins, performed my grandparents, Byron Harvey Allred and Mary Evelyn Clark's plural marriage, which was considered legal by the church. A second manifesto had to be issued by the